Cruise news for September 27th in the year of our Lord 2024. Here's a question for you all. Do you get into the pre-cruise chat boards or the group chats before you go on a cruise? Apparently there are some people who get a little carried away with the pre-cruise chatter. We have the story of a woman who is so active and aggressive in pre-cruise chat that she got herself kicked off the cruise before it ever set sail. We also have a tragic story all the way from the exotic island of Vanuatu in the South Pacific. First, though, we should probably mention the hurricane that is wreaking havoc on not just the cruise industry, but many people's lives in the great state of Florida. Here's the latest cruise ship updates for today. Ship operations were already suspended at Port Tampa Bay, Jacksport, and Port Canaveral. Port Miami was open but impacted by bad weather. In Port Miami, due to periodic strong winds and safety concerns, local pilots were not expected to be able to operate until early Friday morning. Independence of the Seas Thursday departure was delayed and the ship is now scheduled to visit Perfect Day at Coco Cay on Sunday instead of Friday. Carnival Sunrise embarked passengers Thursday, but will remain docked until weather conditions allow departure. Carnival Cruise Line said that this will not affect the ship's arrival to Half Moon Cay on Saturday. Allure of the Seas arrival to Miami on Friday will be delayed. Carnival Horizon, which visited Amber Cove Thursday instead of Cozumel, is set to return to Miami Saturday as scheduled. In Port Canaveral, delays are expected for all the cruise ships scheduled for Friday turnarounds. Disney Wish will be arriving later than expected, and Disney Cruise Line asked passengers to postpone their arrival to the terminal by 5 hours after their selected port arrival time, but no later than 7 p.m., adding that passengers would not be able to access the cruise terminal or parking facility until 4 hours after their selected port arrival time. Carnival Glory is due back late, tentatively sometime Friday, with the next cruise expected to sail Friday with revised operational plans. Royal Caribbean had already advised of delayed turnarounds for Utopia of the Seas and Adventure of the Seas, and MSC Seashore's Thursday turnaround had already been set back to Friday. In Tampa, as earlier reported, Serenade of the Seas and Carnival Paradise turnarounds scheduled for Thursday were put back, with Serenade due to return Sunday and Carnival Paradise very tentatively anticipating sometime Friday, possibly Saturday. In Jacksonville, Carnival had already notified Carnival Elation wouldn't be able to return Thursday, and the line's update estimated very tentatively sometime Friday, possibly Saturday. So yeah, things are messy in Florida right now. If you are cruising or about to take a cruise, make sure you check in with your cruise line to make sure you are up to date on any changes happening. Speaking of hurricanes, it seems this woman who was booted from her cruise before it ever launched was a bit of a hurricane on the chat rooms. And we'll get into that story in just a minute, but first, we're going to go to the exotic island of Vanuatu for a truly sad story. It has been reported that an Australian family lost a family member on a port stop on the island of Vanuatu. Vanuatu is a Y-shaped archipelago consisting of about 83 relatively small islands of volcanic origin. Edward Langley, husband and father of two, is said to have been walking a footpath, fell down, and passed away. It's unclear whether uneven ground was to blame or possibly it could have been a heart attack or a stroke that made Edward fall. Specific details were not given on the incident. It is likely the family was aboard a P&O ship, probably either the Pacific Explorer, the Pacific Adventure, or the Pacific Encounter. P&O is a subsidiary of Carnival Corporation. This story is a good reminder of knowing your limitations when going to port on a cruise. It's not clear that Edward Langley was outside of his limitations in this instance, but I know that sometimes I get excited while on a new tropical destination like St. Thomas or San Juan and find myself pushing my boundaries, like climbing big rocks, pushing yourself to the point of heat exhaustion, and sometimes taking unnecessary risks. While this is part of the adventure, the older I get, the more I need to check in with the reality of pushing a little too far and ending up with a trip to the hospital. Whether you are a first-time cruiser or you have been sailing the high seas for years, we can take away some lessons from this story. Hug your family often. Pray for a safe trip for you and your family and everyone on board every cruise you go on. Keep on cruising and living life to its fullest, as tomorrow is never guaranteed. Okay, it's time to tell the tale of the woman who booked a cruise and got herself kicked off before it ever sailed. Jenny Phoenix, a 68-year-old from Florida, spent over a year preparing to start a new life aboard the now infamous cruise ship Villa the Odyssey. selling her possessions and liquidating her businesses, she was set to travel to 147 countries and 425 destinations. But her dream was cut short, all because of some WhatsApp messages. The ship's departure, originally scheduled for May, was delayed, frustrating many passengers, including Phoenix. Concerned about further delays, she voiced her frustrations in a WhatsApp group chat with other residents. Although some thanked her privately, the cruise line found out. Phoenix was informed by the chief operating officer that her continuous complaints and negativity had prompted over a dozen formal complaints from other passengers. As a result, her contract was permanently canceled to maintain the community's morale. Phoenix defended her actions, saying she was never rude or disrespectful and that her comments were private. She is now emotionally devastated, staying with her daughter and awaiting a partial refund. The cruise line CEO confirmed Phoenix violated terms and conditions and that the decision to remove her was upheld by the founding residents. I do feel bad for Miss Phoenix and really all the people that signed up for the Villa V Odyssey. I will say that not being privy to what she was saying in the messages that got her kicked off, having a person always putting out negative comments and negative energy, whether the situation is a good one or especially if the situation is a bad one, is not the type of person that I would want to spend 3 days on a cruise ship, let alone 3 years. The Villa V has still not set sail because of a magnitude of continuing problems as of today, September 27th, in the year of our Lord 2024. That's it for the cruise news today on Cruise News Central. Always remember, no matter what destination you choose, no matter what cruise line you choose, adventure awaits.